So nowadays countries are moving towards the ideology or the approach of multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is an approach that celebrates three main things: pluralism, equality, and inclusion. So in pluralism basically means that people are allowed and also encouraged to express their cultures in the way they feel comfortable expressing them. This could be in the clothes that they choose to wear or religious symbols that they would like to use. This is a celebration of diversity, and this is very much based on the belief that diversity really is good for any society. If we have a diverse society, then we can learn a lot from one another and we can grow and develop as a society together. Equality. So equality refers to access to both services but also to opportunities. So everyone should have the same rights to access certain services but also to have the same opportunities no matter what their cultural background. Inclusion. This is a term that's very important in terms of education. So inclusion not only means the inclusion of people into certain spaces, but the inclusion of certain cultural content into the curriculum if we're talking about education. So we should include lots of different ideas, lots of different perspectives, and lots of different histories when we are educating our children. Inclusion is also about removing barriers and also recognizing historical barriers that have perhaps been removed, but that still have an influence in terms of the economic situations or the educational levels of children and young people. Now, these three different elements are all promoted and followed through policies, laws, and values. So this is really all related to the country Canada again. Canada was the first country to implement a multicultural policy. It was the world's first national multicultural policy, and this policy was first introduced in 1971. It actually stemmed from the fact that Canada is a bilingual, bicultural country. Well, historically, we had the French settlers and the British settlers, but actually Canada has always been a multicultural region. If we think of Canada, it's one of the hugest countries in the world in terms of the land area. And before European settlers, there were many different indigenous groups, native peoples, called the First Nations, who lived in the area. Then we had British and French settlers. And nowadays we've seen a huge amount of immigration from all over the world, particularly after the Second World War. So this multicultural policy stemmed from an earlier idea, which was to promote biculturalism and bilingualism between French and English. But when they were developing this policy, they realized that actually they had to address the multiculturalism, that it's not just bicultural Canada. It has a huge richness of cultural diversity with the Aboriginal peoples, but also with immigration from Asia, from Africa, and from South America.